which is really just imagining that your deepest thoughts, your private financial info, your sensitive business data, it goes into ChatGPT. And then you find out that a judge has ordered OpenAI to just keep all of it, even if you deleted it. And that's really what's going on right now. So OpenAI is locked in a high stakes legal fight trying to block a federal court order that forces it to preserve all user chat logs, even the deleted ones, after the New York Times and other media companies accused OpenAI of destroying evidence in their ongoing copyright lawsuit. So the AI giant says it's being forced to violate its own privacy promises, potentially breaching contracts and global privacy laws. While news publishers argue the company's been quietly erasing evidence that users may have used ChatGPT to pirate their paywalled content. So, what's really going on here? Who's protecting your privacy and who's weaponizing the courts? Let's unpack it a little bit, talk about the stakes, the spin, and what really this battle means for the future of AI and for journalism. Dickie, do you want to start here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is really fascinating case dispute that I think opens up a lot of questions, and I mean, it certainly talks a lot about this sort of the speed gap between the exponential rate of growth of AI systems and the sort of more deliberate, slower pace of our human systems like regulation and legislation that is can it keep up. So it's thinking about what's falling in the cracks or what the implications are. Is It's both fascinating but also a little bit terrifying, because is this case a copyright infringement about the data that OpenAI was using to train its LLM? Is yeah it, did it was illegally using New York Times articles potentially, and it's I mean, don't get me wrong, I have some issues with the New York Times and don't really have a lot of sympathy for them all the time, but there is a really important question about copyright infringement versus fair use, and I'm certainly concerned with how that affects smaller publishers and independent publishers. But then it's also this what the judge decided about giving New York Times access to the chat logs, and basically essentially saying, yeah, you can't permanently delete these chat logs. Is that precedent setting up something scary in the future where it's giving it's basically creating surveillance infrastructure? Like, I look at history and don't have a lot of faith in how corporate interests, judicial systems and technological governance kind of all converge and protect our privacy, protect our freedom. So there's a big fear about whether our what can come of this, and even if the dystopian kind of surveillance state emerges, like can are our institutions even equipped to deal with this? That's with this technology that's escalating at such a speed. And and then I mean, I have some other thoughts about that are a little more optimistic, and I think that it opens up opportunity to kind of redefine what creativity is about, how we redefine the way we reward the creative process. Also, just how I think an ideal endpoint of all of AI is how it can enhance the human, not to make like necessarily cyborg humans, but in this one article that we that was sort of summing up the whole dispute, it did mention this metaphor of how spell check, it can help humans enhance their writing, and AI is it's a much more powerful tool and kind of complex tool than spell check, but there is this way that AI can amplify human judgment and not replace it, and it can amplify human creativity but not replace it. And that opens up questions about how do we discern, how do we understand what judgment is, and like whose judgment is being amplified, and what does that look like. I'm just fascinated by this. There's another AI story that we can, if we have time, can touch on. But if Nolan has anything to add to this, I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add. I mean, I agree with everything that you said there. In particular, one of the things I want to return to that you said I think is important. You talked about how AI can be used to amplify some of the things that humans do, or some of the things humans do well. And I think this is always what's been missing from the conversation back to like the 1990s around the internet, and certainly after the Edward Snowden releases. That the the public needs to democratically decide what some of these things are, right? Like Dick, you mentioned rightly at the beginning there about like just the copyright issues, of the New York Times, or how we like commodify art. Like who owns it? What are those responsibilities in a capitalist society? We're going to have ownership. So what's that going to look like? What are our privacy rights? Where do they extend to? Where do we think is okay to give up the privacy of that data? I mean, I have my own opinion on all these issues, but I would rather see them decided democratically. But to me, they're being decided right now in sort of dark rooms behind the scenes by government officials and those in Silicon Valley. So I always think that's been the issue. But it's been a great place of frustration because it pops up occasionally with Edward Snowden, or when like Doge is taking our data, people freak out about privacy, and then it's gone from the headlines like a couple days later. But
Mm.
as we've seen over the last, certainly last 3 decades, the collection of information and the erasure of privacy is just going faster and further.
Yeah, and some would say, well, what does it matter with this story? They already have our data. But yeah, it's this ongoing building sort of momentum of collecting our data and harvesting it, and creating these. I mean, at the best, they're creating profiles on us as consumers and how they can manipulate our buying habits. But at worst, it's much more nefarious, and really knowing you. So yeah, knowing the most intimate details about you, and then using that as a way to yeah, sort of as a form of social control, I think. Um, and yeah, I mean, probably not even things I'm thinking of. But yeah, great point about the sort of secrecy, or the closed off ness of where these decisions are being made. And yeah, it's, I mean, the mass, the public, we are so a part of developing this, these LLMs. Like when we engage with the bots, we're developing them, we're growing them, and then to not have any say on the other end is, it's just not fair.
Yeah, I guess like Nolan, to your point, you made a comment about wanting things to be done democratically, but I'm wondering, in terms of the opportunities or options that people have right now, like are there any? Like are there any ways for people to get involved with these decisions making, or would you recommend anything for people to get involved?
Yeah, this is, civil disobedience is the way to get those empowered to do what you want. I know
Mm.
Americans always end up uncomfortable with this, but open up a history textbook. Some estimates say if you can get at least 3% of the population in the streets, you can get what you want. But this is why we have First Amendment and the right to peaceably assemble, and we have the right to petition government, and we have the Fourth Amendment protection of privacy, and we have due process. All these things are protecting us, so we're able to pressure those in power to do what we want. And I think hopefully we've gotten further into the stage, because the first stage of organizing is building awareness. I hope that awareness has started to spread, and organization is the next step, and then
Mm.
put pressure on those in power. But right now, I mean, those in power, it's on display. We used to mock it about 10 years ago about the relationship between big tech and government. During President Donald Trump's second inauguration, there's all the big tech oligarchs right there in at his inauguration, surrounding him, interviewing him. They're going on those shows. That like the you can't deny the relationship anymore. So I think the awareness stage, I would hope we're well into that, and now we can start talking about who we want to pressure. And
Mm.
pressure means disrupting the lives. You have to make powerful people's lives uncomfortable. I remember a couple of years ago, protesters were, whatever, throwing paint on paintings. They were following people into bathrooms, protesting people's homes. And those in power were complaining. And I was like, yeah, that's what protest is supposed to do. It's supposed to make the powerful so uncomfortable they do what the people want. And I think that, it's going to take something like that to get us some privacy protections.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think the other side, the other part of that equation, showing up and protesting, but also making connections within the belly of the beast, I guess. And I think, like with AI,
Good call.
this is not my own idea, but I forget the name of the person, but they were kind of asked a similar question that Sydney asked. This person runs a sort of I guess a think tank about AI, but essentially was saying that a lot of our politicians, they just don't understand AI enough. They don't understand the gerontocracy, as people would call it, being ruled by old farts. But the point that they were making was that sort of creating a bridge with those decision makers, those leaders, like actually creating an organization or hosting a forum. It definitely takes some logistics and scheduling, but getting into the offices of the legislatures, not only in protest. I think protest is really important, but getting in there to educate them and to express like why this is important, and explaining the what we know already is troubling, and there's so many unknown unknowns of where this leads. And it's really Sam Altman himself says that this technology is going to rewrite the social contract. And so I think it's really really teaching how we have to reimagine, or we have to think about the future, and we need the people who are making decisions about our future to actually imagine possibilities. And I think it's the aware, like, part of the awareness is protest and the education, and they really go well together, I think.
Yeah, I love that, Dickie. Especially, I feel I'm such a big proponent of like, you need to know the rules before you can break them. And I think that is so, so important when it comes to spaces like these, too, especially AI, that are so complicated, that having experts in that particular area and having people who can become like a point person for education are so important, too. I think this will be a good time to switch over.
Hey Detoxers, thanks for tuning in to the Disinfo Detox. If you're enjoying the content, head over to nolanhigdon.substack.com for full access to the podcast as well as other original essays. Want to support the Detox? Consider becoming a paid subscriber. You'll get early and exclusive access to interviews, podcasts, essays, and more. If a subscription's not in the cards for you right now, no worries. Just like, share, subscribe, comment, and follow. It helps grow the audience and spread the word. Until next time, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and keep detoxing the disinfo.